Good evening and welcome along to another live episode of Red Tinted Glasses here on the Red Tinted Glasses YouTube channel. And Calum, special episode, we've made it to 200 episodes successfully without being cancelled as well. Might not be successful on the pitch all the time during those 200 episodes, but some achievement in itself.
It's a miracle we've made it this far, if we're honest, especially given how useless I can be at times. The fact you've not had enough of me by now, so credit to you for that. But I suppose we better thank everyone that's ever bothered to click or whatever onto one of our videos or one of the audio versions of the podcast. Because we'd have probably given up by now. I'd like to think by 200 we might have maybe given up if nobody bothered, but. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And we love when you get involved in the lives, hint, hint, and when you're interacting with us on Twitter at RTG_podcast. I'm winning right now, Glen. At RTG.podcast on Instagram. And when you comment in the regular videos as well. It's fantastic. It's good to hear from you guys. And, it provides talking points as well because I don't prepare for these things. Glen does, but sometimes we miss out on things and people bring it up and it helps us a lot.
Yeah, especially on lives when we maybe get a team name wrong or get something wrong. You guys are always quick to keep us on the right track. And yes, Calum says thank you to everyone that has interacted with the shows, either if you're interacting tonight or afterwards, and if you've shared the episode amongst friends or recommended it, just helping us grow. It's really appreciated as well. But I think, Calum, if you told us that when it came round to episode 200 that we'd be sitting here speaking about a game involving Aberdeen against Turriff and then also looking ahead to a game involving Fraserburgh, I'd have been pretty concerned about the direction that the club had headed in when we started this a few seasons back.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially, if you also said we'd lost to Darvel as well, if you threw that in there as well, yes, you'd have been very worried. But thankfully, we're feeling nice and cheery now that we've dried out after last night. So
yeah, I know I thought we were doing well to escape the rain up until the last 5-10 minutes of the game, and thank you to all of you that stayed tuned to the updates, as Calum said, over on Twitter at RTG_podcast. I was quick to come onto Twitter and update you all with the scores. I think it was quicker than the club account, and I think it's the first time I've been praised for coming quickly, so first for everything there.
Don't get used to it.
No, I won't. But you enjoyed your first trip to Turriff, didn't you?
I absolutely did. I was very impressed by the facilities. The toilets were better than Pirie. I'll tell you that much, at least in the South Stand anyway. So that was good. My friend enjoyed them so much that he was so thirsty he couldn't be bothered queuing. He drank directly from the tap like an absolute animal, the animal that he is. But I was very impressed. The announcement system better than Pirie as well. So hopefully that's improved before we go into the Europa League, and especially if we draw some exotic team with some interesting names, it'll be hard enough to work out what they're saying at the best of times. But no, very impressed. The food smelled delicious as well. I didn't know. I probably should have, but I don't want any of the whatever those chuchters eat that make them absolutely massive. I'm quite happy with what I am just now with whatever's in their pies. So to be fair, I should have got one. They did smell lovely, but I was very impressed with the facilities at Turriff.
Yeah, and you enjoyed the pre-match playlist as well that was on show. And I was a big fan of the PA announcer as well when Duke scored. He was very enthusiastic in his Duke as well. That did provide a few chuckles, I think, from the away support. But no, you're absolutely right. Good facilities, pitch in excellent condition as well, despite the recent weather. I think they took quite a lot of pride in the pitch that they put on, and I think they should be proud of the efforts that they put in hosting the game. It was pretty smooth and getting in and out of the ground as well, and apart from being chucked off the wall, because that was going to be a good vantage point for the game. But no, enjoyed it as well, and nice to see amount of goals. Just shame for you that it wasn't 7-0.
Yes,
that's what you get for betting on preseason games.
Yes, look, I thought I'll make it a little bit more entertaining. So, the man who drank from the tap made himself worse in my estimations, because we put £5 on each. I don't advertise gambling because you'll understand why after this, and it was on his account, which is I wouldn't load for me, so we just did £5 each, £10 in total, 7-0. It went 7-0, like, a bit too early. And I was like, right, just cash whenever it gets near to their box, essentially, so we can maximise profit. Didn't cash out, they scored to make it 8-0. So he was not in my good books, which is about standard.
Mm-hmm. Apart from that, though, what was your thoughts overall on the game? The Dons starting the season, convincing fashion, 9-0 win, playing two different starting 11s in either half. First half, I think you saw the probably inexperience, if you want, with certain players like Evan Towler, Jack Milne starting as a centre back pairing, Kel Rose starting in goals, Nicky Devlin making his debut at right back, and then I only could note Leighton Clarkson, Johnny Hayes, and Yilba Ramadani as other likely starters in that starting 11. I know you would probably argue Vicente as a starter, but I think maybe his first 45 yesterday was more about fitness than putting forward a case for a starting position.
Yeah, he's got sticky toffee puddings to work off since he's been back in the northeast. But no, I was there. I don't know. It started off. I was like, "Oh, this is a bit drab. We aren't smashing them yet." But I was quite impressed with how composed they were. They weren't rushing things, not just shooting on sight despite our encouragement, and clearly trying to work on the patterns of play that they'd been working on all the time in Portugal. I was impressed. I was pretty impressed, and it was just good to be Buddy back and seeing the little muscle boy as well. So I was just happy.
Yeah, you were very happy anytime you saw Vicente on the ball. But I think those buzzwords of transitions and high press that Barry Robson likes to use were very much evident last night in some of the passages of play that we had, and certainly more so in the second half. But I guess the biggest thing from last night isn't obviously the result. You could argue some of the performances are a plus, but obviously the most important thing was getting minutes into the legs. And you know, we can't get carried away, given, with the greatest respect to Turriff, the level of opposition. And I think we will see that build towards, obviously, over the next few weeks. We've got Fraserburgh on Saturday, who warmed up nicely for the weekend's encounter with a 10-0 win themselves over Brock United last night. And then, you know, we've got tougher tests in Preston and Charlton, respectively, before the season gets underway away at Livingston. But I think one player that we saw last night in that first half for me that stood out was young Finlay Marshall, who of course opened the scoring. Was pretty unlucky to not have a second. One just went just over the bar, and Leighton Clarkson obviously tapping in the attempt he had that from our angle looked probably goal bound, but a little bit hard to tell given we were at the opposite end. But an impressive performance from young Finlay.
Absolutely. He didn't look out of place at all. Physically, he looks very good for such a young age as well. I was impressed. Honestly, in the first half, was struggling to work out what the hell was going on with the formation. He was playing sort of right midfield, right wing back, maybe at times. I don't really know. Right wing. But he was very good, regardless. I was impressed. And probably, most notably, with the blend of team we sort of had, for the youngsters, good just to get 45 minutes in the legs playing against more senior opposition perhaps than they're used to, and also playing with quality players that are obviously more senior than what they're used to as well. So a good experience, you'd think, for the lot of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I didn't see the comment there from David Stewart, obviously highlighting that one of the pluses from the game was Marshall, and he says, "Do you think he'll be given game time this season?" And I mean, he hasn't harmed his chances on the back of last night. But again, as a lot of people, maybe we were guilty, I think. Not maybe, I think we were guilty of getting carried away with Dante Polvara last night. But you've got to, counterbalance with the opposition that we played. And I think, Finlay Marshall is certainly one player that hasn't done his chances any harm. I thought he was very impressive. He was very direct on the ball last night anyway. So he's certainly given himself a chance of featuring more regularly this season. And obviously maybe one of those players that we need to include in the European squad with all these quotas that UEFA bring on the squads.
Yeah, really looking forward to working that all that out. I was actually looking at it and I was thinking, like, how many more foreign lads could we fit in here the other day? But no, absolutely agree. Played on the right, Jay. And no, we've done no harm to his chances. Likewise, the rest of them probably wouldn't either have. However, he definitely stood out the most.
Yeah, I think I was maybe hoping to see more of Alfie Bavidge last night. He was unlucky not to score early on in the half, but I think at times we were maybe a bit guilty of overplaying in the final third last night, maybe trying to find that perfect pass. But again, it's just the first game back. We're still working things out. People maybe just getting back into the rhythm of playing, but certainly positive signs all round. And I think we weren't to be too surprised that there was going to be changes at halftime. But when it came to the goals, I think they were all taken very well. Finlay took his goal well. But Yulba Ramadani, great to see him back with a huge thunderbolt into the top corner.
Oh, fantastic strike. Not too long ago, we were all panicking that he was going to Lecce. He didn't help that by liking the tweet. However, he's back with a bang into the top corner. Excellent to see. And if he can keep adding to that sort of thing to his game, then I'll be very excited for next season.
Yeah, very nicely done, Calum. You've definitely been practicing at this over the course of these 200 episodes. But no, definitely I agree on that. And I think, we grew into the game as it got on, because Turriff did have a couple of glimmers of opportunities. And I think the only real nervousness throughout the whole 90 minutes was when Keller inadvertently blasted the ball off Nicky Devlin. I'm pretty sure it finally hit. But thankfully went the other side of the goal. But other than that, I think for me, it was encouraging to see some of the passages of play that we had through the game from the midfield to the forward area. But we don't really know how well any of the defence can be tested, because both Milne and Towler didn't really have much to do, and neither did Williams and McKenzie in the second half. But certainly the fullbacks I was impressed with in the second half. I thought Nguyen was a lot quicker than I ever imagined him to be. He really stood out with, I think, a lot of the attacks coming down that side in the second half.
Absolutely. He looked very comfortable. Absolutely. Yeah, I remember at one point where we were worrying that they were in behind, and then Kieran Nguyen just out of nowhere blows by the rest of them to sweep up, which was excellent. And, we might, you might not get carried away so much. I might say a few things where you guys might think, calm down, Calum, because obviously we need to think about the standard of opposition, with no disrespect, because it's a lot higher level than I've ever played at.
Yeah.
But also, let's not forget that these guys are tough as well. The physical battle as well, it comes into the play side of things. And when you're thinking about the young players especially, they didn't shirk away from it. With Finlay Marshall flying into a challenge in the first half as well. A good old-fashioned 50-50, I think you put it down to. So that sort of experience for them will do them the world of good.
Yeah, and we both picked up on Turriff's number 5, Max Foster, who got the man of the match from Turriff, and it's always a bit of a shame when the centre-back gets man of the match in a 9-0 defeat. But I think you noted that, was he the year below you at school or a year above you at school?
I think he was same year as me at a different school. So yeah, that's someone my age, man of the match for in a game against Aberdeen. I can imagine that'll be quite the story to tell the grandkids further down the line. But I was impressed. There was a few that I was impressed by. The goalkeeper also pulled out some excellent stops, particularly the one from Dante Polvara, which we'll come on to, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the keeper did very well, not just that one that you mentioned, but there was a couple of good saves in the first half. But Max Foster was fairly putting his body on the line in the first half, because there was a couple of times that I was turning to your brother, and I think we both agreed, how have we not scored from that? And it was Max just flinging anything in the way. So there was a real commitment to the cause. And, I think, someone picked up the fact that these guys are part-time and were probably working yesterday before the game. And I think that tiredness did come through in the last 20 minutes, especially. But you can't fault the effort. And I think that has, started us off in good stead, that we have come up against something that we did have to work to break down, especially in that first half. But Calum's second half, we did ring the changes and probably saw again, maybe apart from a few players, the likes of Tom Ritchie, who got 45 minutes, with Ross Doohan being the only summer signing not to get any minutes yesterday, playing more like what we would expect from a starting 11 come the start of the season.
I think so. The poor Turriff lads must have, after getting through that first 45 and then seeing Duke, a man, and then Sokler, we just spent 300,000 on. They must have been a little bit worried, but they held their own. To be fair, but yes, it was a lot more of a. I think it was a stronger side in the second half. Absolutely. I mean, Ramadani and Shinnie in the middle of the park. Reece Williams, who's just pitched up from Liverpool, as well. And, of course, the electric Shady Mo.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I mean, we spoke about whether they were tiring or not towards the end, but we pretty much brought on anybody and everybody that had a bit of pace about our team for that second half. And that really showed. But I think what also showed in that second half was the sharpness and kind of movement within the team really stepped up in that second half. I thought our passing was a lot slicker. Our movement off the ball was a lot quicker. We were a lot more direct in our play as well compared to that first 45. And I think our excitement level in terms of being involved in the game really perked up compared to that first 45. I know, well, you had your own personal involvement with your little side hustle, but there was, I think, obviously with the action being down our side as well, there was a lot more to be entertained by in a sense.
Yeah, that certainly helped, the fact it was down our end. But no, I was very impressed with the intensity that they applied specifically in the second half, right the way through. I thought, with it being a pre-season friendly, once we were very, very comfortable in the game, things might start to dwindle a little bit. But no, they kept at it, which was commendable. But I suppose that's exactly what Barry Robson's wanting from the 45 minutes from each side. Get those minutes, high intensity in the leg, crisp, sharp passing, and good movement, which we saw a lot of. So I was very impressed indeed. And hopefully, we can keep building that as we go into the Fraserburgh game. And then we'll be ready to shut some people up on their nans that could score goals in the Cinch Premiership. That would be excellent if we went down the road and spoiled their day.
Yeah, that would be. And we mentioned Doohan not getting any minutes last night. There was 3 other players that didn't get any minutes. Bojan Miovski, as he works his way back from his injury at the end of the season. Anthony Stewart looked to be the only player that didn't actually travel with the squad. People obviously putting 2 and 2 together and suggesting that means his future lies elsewhere. But maybe more concerningly, was Angus MacDonald's absence from the matchday squad. He did travel with the squad to Turriff, but didn't feature after picking up a knock on the pre-season trip to Portugal. And I saw a tweet tonight suggesting that he may actually be out until the Celtic game. Worst case scenario, hopefully be back for the start of the season. So that's a bit of a concern if that injury is worst case. Hopefully rest up. But also frustrating, I'm sure, for Barry Robson as well, that if that injury does rule Angus out for a few weeks, that he's not getting that match minutes under his belt between now and the Livingston game. And obviously, we know what, depending on the injury, coming back onto a plastic pitch. Yes, you and I'm getting it in early.
Yeah, that is a concern, and it's a shame as well, especially given the way he came in and performed at the back end of last season. He would want to just hit the ground running again this season, having extended his deal. So it is a shame. I'm sure he seems a fit lad though, so I'm sure despite his injury, he'll be doing what he can to stay in shape. And it's a little bit annoying that when he does come back, we're going to be building him up throughout league games, and he might not quite be there. As you mentioned, the Livingston pitch not excellent, and then when you've got Celtic the weekend after. Another concern is that if Anthony Stewart is to leave, which given last night would suggest it is the case, one senior centre back by trade, and that's a loanee from Liverpool at the moment.
Yeah, is a concern, and obviously Jack Milne played there last night. It does kind of heighten the need for more players in there. Alan Burrows coming out on social media this week saying that we're working on at least 6 players, but Barry coming out after the game last night to say that there'll be nobody in before the weekend. So maybe looking into next week. So give us something to speak about next week, obviously. There is the game on Saturday as well. But I think last night has heightened the fact that we do need a bit more strength and depth in terms of experience, with the greatest respect to some of those youngsters that were breaking in, because you've got with the likes of Blair McKenzie on the bench, Adam Emsley, Dylan Lobban. These guys haven't had any first team minutes or been out on loan. And as I pointed out to you as well, we started the game with Evan Towler on the left side of the three. And I'm pretty sure it's Montrose that Evan's going to be spending the season at. But I guess another thing from last night, Calum, as well, is we couldn't really make our mind up on whether or not it was a 3 at the back or a 4 at the back, because you seem to think it was more of a 3 with full backs, and I felt it was more of a, certainly in the second half, I felt it was more of a 4-4-3, I guess, but I felt at times we were more playing a back 4.
In the second half, yeah, I would agree with you. In the first half, I would say it's definitely 5, but I was a bit confused because Johnny Hayes was so high up the park that I couldn't really work out whether that was just the luxury he had or the fact he was actually playing higher up the park. It looked, I thought to me, it was Towler, Milne, Devlin as the 3 centre backs in the first half, and then in the second half, it was certainly Ngwenya, McKenzie, Williams, and Richardson as the 4-3-3. So it was. I got a little bit confused at times, and also the fact that it was all seemed very fluid, which I quite enjoyed. Daniel Polvara was basically playing as a centre attacking midfielder. It was quality.
Yeah, I know. Chilling in the comments asked, how did Dante perform? Probably the wrong two people to ask, given that we were lauding over his performance, and you were very impressed with his mullet. But maybe that loan spell over in America has done Dante the world of good. And of course, he's coming into this or returning back to the team not only fit, but has got match minutes under his belt. So maybe ahead of a few players. But I was very impressed with his range of passing last night. Very accurate in those through balls. And there was a couple that he played through to Ester Sokler originally that was well saved by the keeper. And another one to Shaden Morris, who probably should have done better with his opportunity to finish. But compared to what he was producing in the warm-up when we were watching him at half-time, it was a lot better in match experience.
Absolutely. Talk about his mullet still, or
no?
No, his mullet was excellent. However, we were particularly impressed with his range of passing and his vision. A couple killer through balls that you mentioned there. Very, very impressive. It'll be interesting to see if he can do that with a step up in opposition, but very encouraging signs, and enough for me to get carried away and fully believe that the Dante Polvara redemption arc is on.
Yeah, exactly. And I know a few people probably thought the same around Shaden Morris because of how much success he was having down the right wing. But I still, again, probably the same people that had those doubts about Dante's performance, given who we were playing, is what I would level at Shaden Morris. But I still think his final ball was a little bit lacking. He did all the hard work, and then the last pass or the shot was letting him down. Now, I suppose
other than the goal,
but that was well taken, to be fair. Drilled that low into the bottom corner, but it wasn't his coming in off the wing to then supply something. That was kind of more in the middle of the park. But I guess the biggest surprise from last night, well, maybe because, again, like Bojan, a bit of an unknown signing, was Ester Sokler coming in and making his debut for 45 minutes and 4 goals. I mean, talk about making your mark on this team and saying, I'm not here just to warm the bench and be an impact player. I want involvement. And as Jay Moyer asks, he says, I know it was Turriff, but did Sokler look like a good find? And how is he compared to Bojan? And he means style-wise, because looks-wise, they do look similar, but I think he's more built than Bojan is.
They do look very similar. What a way to announce yourself, first of all. Absolutely fantastic. Took some of his goals very, very well. I think, was it his first or second? Was the second the penalty?
The second was a penalty. The first one was the through ball from Dante.
Yeah,
That
excellent
the
finish.
first touch was superb to control the pass, and then the way he opened his body and finished it was that was, I think, the thing that most people probably in attendance last night took away was the quality of the finish.
Yeah.
The control and finish was really a standout.
And regardless of the opposition, I
Mhm.
sort of said the same things when Bojan signed, actually. Some of the
Yeah.
things Bojan was doing in that clip, regardless of the opposition, if you've got the technique to do that kind of thing, no matter who it is you're playing against, then you'll do for me. And I sort of think the same from what I've seen so far about Ester Sokler. And Richard mentioned that Ester Sokler's production a lot about the team he's in. And if we're going to continue supplying him like that, then I'm very, very excited. He looks more physical than Bojan, I would
Mhm.
say. I still think he's a little bit lanky. He could maybe do with a few sessions in the gym, but I was very, very happy. His aerial presence was good.
Yeah.
There was a couple of very good flick-ons from Esther, and they are a bit more different, I think. But Esther Sokler certainly looks. Maybe it's just I don't really know actually because they're about the same age. I was going to say maybe it's experience, but he looks like he's able to use his body very well,
Mhm.
which impressed me a lot, especially against physical defenders.
Yeah, and I guess it's so clear, so good for him. And as Al Mitchell says, he's going to be a great watch, and he'll give the other strikers competition. And there's no better way to mark your competition than getting off with 4 goals on your first outing. And I'm sure he'll be raring to go come Saturday against Fraserburgh.
Absolutely. And I think for his penalty, I think Duke had the ball at some point, and it was maybe Graham Shinney spoke to him, and I don't know what he would have said. It would probably be along the lines of, "Let's see what he can do," and also, "It's good to build his confidence." Either or, very very happy, and I thought good leadership from Graham Shinney, and he slotted it away. So that's encouraging if we've got him in addition to Bojan to put the ball away from 12 yards.
Are they too similar to play together, as Jay says?
I would say no, because whilst Sokler's movement looked very, very good, Bojan's game seems to sort of be a lot based on his movement, and he's very, very good at it. Whereas Sokler seemed more able to apply himself physically. So maybe they'd actually complement each other very well.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's fair. You and Grant picked up on Duke's performance last night. Did he look fit? Obviously done a bit dirty by the Aberdeen admin with the angle when he was warming up. Looked like he'd certainly enjoyed his time off. I'm glad the game wasn't streamed last night because Hibs fans would have been complaining about some of his diving, I'm sure, because the penalties that we thought we were, well, certainly the second one we thought we were awarded a penalty looked very soft. And I don't know about you, but the first one, I think you were adamant it was a stone wall, but I'm sure Hibs fans will have been thinking he was going down a bit too easily. But he looked lively.
Mhm.
And obviously, again, for another player getting on the goal scoring sheet as well, it'll do his confidence the world of good going towards the start of the season.
Can you take much confidence from the ball hitting you and going in? I'm not sure.
Every
But
goal
hey,
counts.
that
I
is
mean, I thought it
true.
was an own goal, to be honest.
He was in the right place at the right time.
Exactly. Striker's
On
instinct.
On the penalty shouts, first one was Stonewall. I thought the second one was Stonewall as well. I'm not sure how they overturned the decision without the use of VAR, but congratulations to them. I think he could blame that particular photo on, like I do with most of them that I see of myself, on the angle. So he's welcome to that excuse. He looked good. He looked strong. There was our view was a little bit obstructed when it was going back down our left in the second half. However, he got into some battles and stood his own very, very well. As strong as an ox, I was very impressed. And also his work rate, getting back and defending as well. There's a few times where he was just hunting down the Turriff players, which I was very impressed with. He looks ready to go, and within weeks we'll be just getting super excited again. I don't know. I lost my train of thought. I love
Yeah.
him.
No, agreed. Jeff Moran says, "Can we play a front three of Duke Boyan and Sock It To Me, as he's calling Ester Sokler? Could they work as a front three?"
I'm not convinced because Duke could play off the left, but then what
Mhm.
happens on the right?
Yeah.
or who's going to play in behind of the three if it was two and then one in behind? I don't know. But to be fair, if desperate, if we're hoying them on, I would be confident that we would find a goal if absolutely desperate, because between Duke's ability to create for himself and others, Bojan's movement, the nuisance that Sokler can be, I'm very impressed. And it's sort of three different options in what they can bring as well, which impresses me.
Yeah, and I thought Sokler had a lot of pace about him, as
Mhm.
well as his aerial threat that you alluded to earlier in the episode. But I agree on that. I'm not sure if we would see all three together unless, as you say, we're chasing a goal in a game, because Duke obviously played on the left, Shaden Morris was on the right, and Sokler through the middle. I totally agree. I don't see where Bojan comes into that, or Ester. I don't see either of them being deployed as a right wing or in behind. I guess if you did a two up top, you could play Duke in behind the strikers, but I don't think that's his natural position. And again, it's probably where we likely play Leighton Clarkson as well. So for me, I don't see it as being a natural starting front three, but um, stranger things have happened at this football club, so we'll see.
Also, a lot stranger things have happened in recent times as well, if we're
Mhm.
honest. But the fact he's impressed me so much gives me a lot of confidence in games. But if he's not going to come in and start ahead over Bojan Miovski or Duke for that matter, it gives me confidence in the games that he does come in and start. He's going to have an impact. Hopefully, he can carry that on. And if he goes on throughout pre-season, continuing to score goals, then his confidence will be sky high by the time Livingston comes around.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, uh, a confidence building way to start pre-season. I said, score 9 goals, don't concede any. You've got to be happy with that. But ultimately, the biggest takeaway from last night is the fact that we've got minutes under our belt, but also players. Putting forward claims for first team minutes, giving Barry Robson a bit of something to think about as well. But I guess, as George Ironside commented before we actually went live, was, are we concerned about the recent lack of signings? 2 weeks without anything. I know, Calum, you're almost getting withdrawal symptoms from the fact that we haven't put pen to paper on any new players. But as Pedros73 said, he's expecting at least another 4 players in, 2 at the back and 2 in the middle. And what's our thoughts on that? I think you've already touched on it with the fact that Angus MacDonald's injury potentially ruling him out until the Celtic game. The 2 at the back really have to now take priority over anywhere else on the pitch, because I thought we looked all right in the middle of the park last night. I think we've probably the area of the pitch where we've got a lot of depth
Mm-hmm.
is our midfield. I think we are just extremely light, or certainly lacking in significant experience at the back and on the left side of that defence, especially.
Absolutely. I would say 3 at the back required. I'd say starting left back / left wing back, certainly a left sided centre back, and then another centre back of some description. Don't care what side he can play on. Both, ideally, that would be fantastic. That's what I would say. Then probably you're looking at, depending on how we're going to play, a centre attacking midfielder / winger, one of the two, maybe both, ideally both, just so I can get nice and excited. And if rumours are to be believed, another striker. But we'll come on to the rumours in a little.
Okay, well, you can come on to them because I am way out the loop with what the rumours are.
Oh,
So shows how much of the preparation I've really done. But as Skolkser says as well, nice to see Robson's interview saying how he's 100% focused on improving everything in the next game. That's the sort of mentality that we need. And I certainly think it is the right mentality to have, and certainly work with what we've got. But I'm sure in the background we're working on some of those targets to improve the team and add that quality and strength and depth that we're needing, especially, as I said, in the defense. And I'm just, I've seen a few people also pick up on the fact that the double sessions that we've done in Portugal certainly showed maybe evident last night in terms of our levels of fitness, and that we are going to be fitter than last season if people maybe question some of the fitness. Certainly, I think at times last season we were certainly critical of a few players. Leighton Clarkson, I remember early in his career, was always getting subbed off after 70 minutes. So, maybe an improvement to that. But and I know Barry Robson touched on the fact that we don't want to cause any injuries, but could some of the double sessions that he said he's going to put in a double session on Friday, actually, before the Fraserburgh game, could that kind of come back to haunt us a little bit with, you look at Angus MacDonald picking up that injury as well. But we've kind of double-edged sword. We don't want to be caught short before the season starts, but we also don't want to injure an already threadbare part of the team.
I'm happy with the double sessions, particularly when we don't seem to be playing as many friendlies as everyone else. That is more my worry. Before we'd played last night, Hearts had played Dunfermline and Plymouth, obviously as well, better competition to play as well. That was a little bit more my concern about it. We've got 4 friendlies, 2 of them against Highland League sides, but then we do have 2 very good tests right before Livingston. So, but also playing in my mind is perhaps, if playing too many friendlies at this point in the game when, of course, you're trying to build up fitness, but you don't want them to end up suffering as a result of it further down the line, because we are going to have a lot of games to play.
Yeah, I know. I wonder if we may be chucking a bounce game or a behind closed doors game somewhere in between. Because I know a few people also kind of shared that concern, the fact that we only have 4 preseason games. I was maybe surprised we didn't have something over in Portugal lined up as well, but we're playing with the cards that we've been dealt, and I'm sure Barry Robson and the rest of the coaching team will have us in best possible shape for starting that Premiership season at Livingston, like we said, at the start of August. Big talking point from the week before the game last night was, of course, the home kit that was released on Tuesday. Red and gold will be the colours of the home strip for this season, celebrating the 120 years in the league. Some teams not lucky to reach anywhere near that mark just now. How did the new strip look for you, Calum? Better in person than the pictures?
Oh, I love them in the pictures, and I liked it in person as well. When Shane Morris walked out in that second half, I was like, wow, it is a nice kit. I love it. I think I'm just glad both kits just something a bit different to what we're used to. I'm happy. It's out there. It's weird that we're celebrating 120. To be honest, I don't really know why that's significant. I know it ends in a 0, but surely it's usually like 125 or something odd. But hey, I like it and it looks good, and I've ordered it. So both if I've got the away top and I've got the home one ordered as well. So delighted. Looks good. Glen, thoughts?
It looks better in person, but I'm not a fan. There's something about it. It looks too much like an international kit. The first thing from the sponsors breakfast that they had, for those that could go along to the Richard Donald and see the kit before it was, officially launched, and you see the picture of Bojan standing in it. The first thing I thought was, if you took away Texo and chucked in a Macedonia badge, it would just look like a Macedonia kit, the red and gold. And for me, it really reminded me of a Wales kit. I know a lot of people said it was more of the Spanish feel with the red and gold, but it just has a bit of an international feel to it. I've seen a few people say, if it was red and white, it would look absolutely phenomenal. But if it was white, it reminded me of the season that we had Paul Hartley and Josh McGuinness playing for us. That white collar.
Oh yeah.
When Paul Hartley banged in 3 penalties against Hamilton, that's the kind of flashback I get if we had the white look, the white trim. But look, it's definitely not as bad in person. But unlike you, I have not ordered it, and I'll not be buying it for myself, but may have to buy it for the wee man. So I'll just stick with the away one just now.
You'll have to cheer him up. So he needs it. You say it looks international. It does, but the Reds are international this year, Glen.
Yeah,
we're going global, so we need it. We need to be looking good. We need to be looking out there. It's a marketing ploy, and I love it. I've lapped it up, basically.
It is. Both kits this season are absolutely marketing ploys, and both kits are being lapped up by those that are buying into the marketing project. And as Alan Burrows said, the home kit, just falling just short of the away kit as well. So, from a financial point of view for the club, real moneymaker on both kits this season. So, whether you like them or not, and look, let's be honest, we could be wearing utter shite. None of us would care as long as what happens on the pitch is good. And I don't care what we're wearing if we're lifting silverware at some point this season.
Yes, that's true. Good for the club's bank account, terrible for Calum's.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking ahead to the weekend, obviously, second game of the preseason gets underway at the Belsley as we take on Fraserburgh and Ryan Cowie's testimonial. What's your kind of thoughts on that game, more in terms of, do you think we'll once again see two 11s play 45 minutes each?
I think it'll be basically the same, possibly even the same lineups, unless they want to try a couple of different combinations and see how players work together. But I absolutely think there'll be a flurry of changes at halftime, and maybe we'll see the new goalkeeper in action.
Yeah, I agree, and I think if we're basing it off of last night, I'd rather see the kind of the players that started that first half start the first half again on Saturday, and then bring on the rest for the second half. I don't really have any complaints about that, and I guess preseason really is all about, as you say, maybe testing a few different combinations. So we might see Connor Barron play first half and Leighton Clarkson play second half, or Keller Rose doesn't play the first half, plays the second half, and Duham plays the first. It'll be interesting to see. And Sokler, I'm not sure if this is tongue in cheek or not, wouldn't mind seeing Anthony Stewart get 45 minutes. I think the real tell, and actually I know someone picked up on the fact that he did have an injury during his loan spell at MK Don, so maybe like Bojan, Anthony Stewart actually not fully match ready to be involved. So it depends what side of the coin you lie on the Anthony Stewart situation.
That is true. I don't know if we're going to come to this, not in the notes. Lewis Pirie's left.
It was in the notes, but I added it after I sent you the notes, so
perfect.
You can't see it. Yes, Lewis Pirie joined Leeds United this evening. Young striker. All the best to Lewis. Good move for him and his family, I'm sure, as he takes his next steps in his footballing career. Not the kind of way I expected us to develop talent and make money on, selling them at such a young age, and obviously disappointing that we won't get to see him at all from Aberdeen. But I'm sure we've managed to negotiate a sizable sell-on fee for him for when he makes his breakthrough, and certainly playing down in England goes for the inevitable multi-millions of pounds that players playing in England go for.
Well, let's hope so. But absolutely, best of luck. Totally understandable from his point of view. I mean, a club like Leeds come along. They are a massive club in England, unfortunately, and we can't really compete with that. And the opportunity that'll give him as well. I don't know. I think the way it works when they're so young is that it's not like a transfer fee that gets negotiated. It's like a tribunal settlement thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a development fee. And I think Anthony Joseph, Sky Sports reporter, reckoned the figure. The fee was around £200,000. So if you contrast, we've made £200,000 on a 16-year-old, and that's what we paid for Leighton Clarkson. I mean, that's the money we made back that we spent to get Leighton Clarkson. It's a good bit of business.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, absolutely. And we wish him the best of luck. And he might end up back here one day, whether it's a loan spell or whatever. We might get to see him in action. So good luck to him.
Yeah, and I remember his dad actually said to me in the airport one time, he said to Lucy, "You'll be on these boys' podcast one time. Maybe this maybe wasn't the time that Ricky was expecting Lewis to be on. But maybe he'll be a player that'll come back to us on loan in a few years' time if he's still making his way at Leeds."
Absolutely. Shall I mention my rumours now that I'd referenced?
Go for it.
So I've gotten that desperate that I've gone seeking for rumours actually, and I found three, or been told three. So
folk are going to start making up rumours now for you to suggest on here.
That's a good idea. Yeah. If anyone wants to do that, message me and we'll do it. So, numero uno that I saw or was told about, Tom Hamer, a right-sided defender, can play centre back or right back. 23 years old, most recently of Burton Albion. So that's one. I've done about 5 minutes of research on him. He's played a lot of games at that level. I watched a 5-minute clip of him playing for Oldham at the age of 20, and absolutely everything in his game looks good. It looks good. And now I am hesitant of League One jobbers, as I like to call them. However, at 23, I feel that's a good age. There's a rumour that other English clubs are in for him, top League One, some Championship sides. If he's got any ambition about him, get north and get playing in Europe, boy. So we'll see how that develops. Number 2, Tyler Walker, son of Des Walker. He was formerly at Nottingham Forest, 26-year-old forward. He's described as, I think, plays mainly as a striker, but can play off the right. And reliable on Twitter, that Vitsi man did a little dig on him. He looks quick. He looks like a good finisher. Technically pretty good. However, work rate could be a problem. So I likened him to Josh Ginnelly. Would you have taken Josh Ginnelly on a free, Glen?
Yes, I would.
Right, okay, so we'll have him. So usually with League One jobbers, I am a bit sceptical. However, I think when it's someone like that who does clearly have good qualities about them, can come in on it as a free. If you're going to be a squad player as a free, that works out perfectly. Can fill in. Then we've got Ester Sokler and Miovski can both play pretty much through the middle as their only position. Duke, who can come off the left or play through the middle. And then Tyler Walker, who can play on the right or through the middle. Good options. What does it mean for Alfie Babbage, though? I think it means it's a loan, probably, for Alfie Babbage, if that deal is done. Number 3, and the one I was probably least excited about, Declan John. You might remember him from when he played at Rangers for a little bit. Walker away to Lincoln. Damn it. Regardless, moving on. Declan John at Bolton. He's 28 years old, left back. We do need a left back, so the fact we're being linked with one is encouraging. However, I know little to nothing about Declan John other than the fact I wasn't particularly impressed with him when he was at Rangers. But hey, maybe he's come on since then. He's a Welsh international after all.
To be fair, I'm all on the Tom Hamer bandwagon after seeing some of the puns. As long as he's not a hammer thrower, he'll do fine, and he will nail it up in Scotland. So I'm all here for him signing because the puns would be absolutely majestic on this podcast. So, we can snap him up. That'll be absolutely fine.
Oh, well, yeah, I agree. In fact, I kind of hope he is a hammer thrower a little bit. We could do with an absolute bastard at the back there. But I hope you enjoyed this week's segment of Calum's transfer rumours.
Yes, it'll be back next week because we probably still won't have signed anybody. A couple of questions coming in the comments, so I'll get to them before I move on to probably the final thing that we'll speak about on the show tonight. VK asks, who are the promising youngsters we might actually see playing for us this season?
Need to take myself off mute. Enjoy that on audio listeners when I forget to edit it out. So you're welcome. Promising youngsters we might actually play after last night. Finlay Marshall looks capable. I think he's played a lot through the middle, coming through the academy. If we're not going to add anyone else in that particular position, and we do end up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. And there is suspensions. Graham Shinney, I'm looking at you. Injuries. Connor Barron, I'm looking at you. Perhaps Finlay Marshall could deputise. Of course, there is Ryan Duncan and Milne, who've both played a little bit more first-team football. I'd like to see them kick on. Absolutely. Duncan looked very confident on the ball last night. He seemed he was playing a lot higher up the park, it seemed, which seemed to suit him. So I'd like to see him kick on. And obviously, goal machine Alfie Babbage. If we don't bring another striker, it'd be good to see him get some game time, hopefully grab a goal or two, and start helping him develop a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with that. Finlay Marshall, I think it's quite telling the fact that he was taken over to Portugal as well to be involved in that session, and obviously, starting the game last night. It'll be interesting to see how many minutes he gets, more so in the games against Preston and Charlton, I think. I also agree on Ryan Duncan, again, with the comments about his confidence. I also thought he was playing in a more central role last night, and I thought he was a lot more direct than he was certainly at the back end of last season. And I agree on Babbage. If he can't get a decent run of minutes, maybe even just a 6-month loan spell, but I'd be looking at probably top end League One or Championship to really see what he can do for if we do need him for the second half of the season, rather than kind of putting him down the leagues. I think it would be a good test for him in that sort of situation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been widely reported, and for those that have watched him, people know that he does have the ability. It's just about getting him ready for first team action at this stage, and perhaps starting lower down slightly, where quality wise he'll be very high up. However, physically he'll be really tested. I think that would be interesting.
Yeah. Kevin Blanchard asks, what are our expectations for this season? Will everyone be happy / expecting third again, and at least a trophy considering the amount of games we will have this season?
Well, if someone offered me third again right now, would take it absolutely, because it means more group stage football, it means more trips, it means more money for the club that can be invested. I'd be delighted with that. A trophy is always the aim. Honestly, just hope we play more than a couple of games in the Scottish Cup this year. That would be more than welcome, but a cup would be excellent. I've always said that I'd love to see us lift the Scottish Cup whilst my dad's still around. 23 years, not happened yet. So if this could be the year, I would be delighted.
I mean, if we played a couple of games in the Scottish Cup, it's already one more than we did
Exactly.
last season. But I think I would love to see us get some silverware this season. I think it's difficult to say. I mean, obviously, I think as fans, we are expecting third. That would be the expectation on the club as a fan base. We saw last season how much Hearts struggled, despite our own attempts to help them at times, how tough the European kind of schedule can be on a playing squad with the Thursday, Sunday games. I would actually like to, I guess for an expectation, I would like us to hold our own in Europe this season. I don't want us to do a Rangers and absolutely disgrace ourselves in the group stages. And I hope we put on a credible show in there. And even if we could qualify from the groups, I think that would be an outstanding achievement. But third, fourth place finish this season. Get European football again next season, and getting to a final and winning a trophy would be good. But it's hard to kind of really put on kind of some expectations for the season. We maybe come back to that question, Blanchy, before the Livingston game. Because obviously there's still a lot of work to be done between now and the start of the season. I'm sure the squad will change in terms of outgoings, but also, I bloody hope they'll change in terms of incomings as well between now and then. So we'll maybe revisit that one before the Livingston game.
Yeah, absolutely. Expectations for this pre-season: more bodies in the door. How about that?
Yeah. David Stewart says, who will be our main opposition for thirds? Is it to be Hearts and Hibs, or any surprises from other clubs to be expected?
I would expect Hearts to get their arses in gear and make some signings, and to be up there as sort of is usually the case, competing. Hibs as well, that would be the standard. I'm trying to think if there'd be anyone who's like a wild card that we might not expect, because we obviously ended up competing pretty tightly right up to close to the end with St Mirren for European spots. I'm trying to think who's going to be that team, because prior to Kevin Van Veen leaving, you would have thought perhaps Motherwell, but
well,
I'm not sure.
If you follow the right fan bases on Twitter, you'll have Dundee fans telling you that they're going to be challenging the season with their ridiculous signings that they've been making.
I'm a massive fan of what so far what Tony Dock has done. The fact they've signed 2 Mexicans and they're going to pitch up in Dundee is quality as it is. Whether they're any use, we're not sure.
True.
But you never know. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, they have. And I guess, as I alluded to about Europe and looking forward to seeing what that brings us, Mark Munn makes a point that personally he thinks it'll hurt our league position. And look, Mark's absolutely right in that opinion. It could have a detrimental effect on our league position. But I think as long as we're, in the top 6 and securing European football next season, third's obviously got to be the bare minimum in terms of goal achievements, but let's see what the season brings. It's, as I said, it's maybe still too hard to really put a kind of expectation on it, given that I personally think we're still a bit threadbare defensively.
Yeah, I agree. However, even I think the likelihood is that there will be some results which maybe wouldn't have happened otherwise had we not been playing Thursday, Sundays.
True.
However, the run in towards the split is a good chance to redeem ourselves if that does happen. So
Yeah, which
I'm feeling
obviously,
okay.
yeah, you saw obviously Hearts make up ground once they went out of Europe. Obviously, we did our absolute utmost to assist that with a horrible January. But yeah, look, things can change in the second half of the season. As long as we're still in touching distance around Christmas, if not already there, then I'll be happy. I guess before we round up, there was one other kind of bit of business to kind of look at from this week in Scottish football was Hearts' decision to only grant, well, what would it be? Grant every team outside of Hibs 650 tickets for Tynecastle, and kind of the reaction that has been made to that decision, and what your thoughts are on that, Calum, and whether clubs should be looking at alienating away fans, given the backing that the waiting list FC are certainly allegedly giving themselves at Tynecastle, because I know that Aberdeen are looking to do similar to the away end. If it's certainly alleged, I'll put in to cover myself, that the fence is being taken down in the south stand, and the away end will be moved kind of probably by barrier forward and backwards depending on the opposition. I'm not sure if they'll reinstate the fence when 2 teams come to town, but uh, interesting to see how that does. And to be honest, if that is the way that the club choose to go, I just really hope we don't go tit for tat with Hearts like Celtic and Rangers did over tickets, because nobody wins out of that situation by us, spitting our dummy out and giving Hearts 650 tickets back.
I hope we don't do the same, as you just said. I hope we don't. I think the away end is fine as it is. There's more than enough tickets around, even for the games against Celtic and Rangers. I think personally, for where we are right now, especially when you consider how many would be at the average game for us, and away fans are what make the game what it is. They tend to come up. They've all had a few sherries, wherever they may be going, and they make a good noise, which in turn then encourages the home end, those nearby, to make a little bit of noise themselves, give them it back. The back and forth you get is entertaining. It makes it a much better experience, unless you're getting abused for being specky. But it's funny. It's fine. I think it without 650 is a joke. I think. Um, I've seen people say about the allocations. I think Celtic and Rangers maybe got 1,300 last season for some of it, or for at least one of the games, maybe. That would be more than adequate. I feel like I totally understand where people are coming from, kind of with look after your own fans. Yeah, do that, but don't be selfish and ruin the spectacle for everyone else. And if you're trying to sell the game, away fans are a big part of that as well. Don't cut off your nose to spite your face, as they say.
Yeah.
I just think 1,000 even at Tynecastle or something
Mhm.
would be sufficient. I mean, yeah, we don't need the whole stand. Look after your own fans. I get that, but 650 is a joke.
Yeah, no, it's a total joke, and I saw a few people as Andy Wright puts in about the 5% for away fans is the UEFA rule. I can't remember who did it, and I can't probably find it between now and trying to get it out at a decent time. Someone put it on Twitter about the 5% if that was done across the league, and I think it worked out that you'd only get like 950 tickets at like Rugby Park. And we get the whole stand if we wanted to. I know we only really get the top tier, but if you wanted, we could probably expand down that. But again, why put a percentage on it? Because it probably actually works out then less than what we currently get at some grounds anyway.
That's a minimum of that, though. It
Yeah,
wouldn't
true,
be,
but
it
still.
wouldn't be guaranteed, because Kilmarnock, I'm sure, would have, or for example, Kilmarnock, Ross County would have no problem giving us more tickets to sell out for them to make a little bit of money, as well, when otherwise they're going to be empty.
Yeah, no, and certainly at 650 tickets, it's going to make it nearly impossible for certain fans to go to these games unless you have 100 million loyalty points as well. And again, that's frustrating for those that want to go, being kind of branded out of the game as well, due to that. So I hope it's not something that we go tit for tat, especially when the likelihood at Livingston for the first game of the season will probably have 3,000 to 4,000 there. And then I think it is Hearts that is our next away game after that. So you're going to go from 3,000 to 4,000 away fans to 650.
Yeah.
Scottish football.
Yeah, and it requires a miracle to get a ticket if you don't have the required loyalty points, as I fortunately experienced about 2 days before the game. It just ensues chaos as well.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. Unless you've got folk that can pull you favours from somewhere, it's not good. It's not a good look for Scottish football. But Hearts seem to think it is. But what do they know? Anyway, that is the talking points from this week in Scottish football in Aberdeen. It's good to have football back, isn't it, Calum? It was good to be back and experiencing football in some sort as we build towards the start of the season.
Absolutely. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We saw lots of goals at the same time. So what wasn't to love?
I know the company wasn't too bad either, was it?
Could have been better.
Well, it's been good tonight with all of you joining us on the live tonight. As we said, episode 200. Thank you very much to all of you that have supported the show throughout the 2 and a bit seasons that we've been doing this. Of course, this season is shaping up to be probably our busiest in a long time, given it'll be the first time we've done group stages. We've done the qualifiers before, but normally we shit the bed before group stages. So looking forward to covering that throughout the course of the season. We'll be back next week at some point. Stay tuned to our socials over on Twitter at RTG_podcast. We'll put out when we're coming live next week, hopefully. Fingers crossed, Calum. A few signings to talk about as well. Thank you to all of you that have added some talking points as well on the show. Calum wants to promote something before I wrap this up.
I do. You're watching on YouTube. Go and watch my latest Football Manager video. I turned Scotland into Saudi Arabia, and it got mental. So go and do that. Calum Wright on YouTube. It's easy to find.
I mean, on that bombshell, I think that's the perfect place to end it. See you guys next week. Thanks for joining in.
Thanks.